So let us now look at the different certifications provided by Tableau. So Tableau provides two levels of certification. The first one is a qualified associate, and the second one is the certified professional. Um, for the qualified associate, so Tableau recommends that the user candidate generally has around 5+ months of experience in Tableau development, desktop development. So this. We will just go through what would be um, included in this test a little while later. It costs you around 250 US dollars, and it's an online course and certification. So Tableau's certified professional also is an online test, and it costs around $400, and you would have to have taken the qualified associate before you really take the certified professional test or exam. And then the certified professional is going to be more on the advanced Tableau features and analytics, and then also best practices and how best you can actually make sense of the data that's available to you, and what is the best. It evaluates you on what kind of different visualizations that you can build, and try to tell a story and things like this. So let's first look at the preparation guide for the qualified associate. So let's go through this. This basically talks about how you're going to prepare for the exam. So it's basically have what you need to be. You need to have some working experience on the Tableau desktop, and then your knowledge and skills are going to be measured, and you also will be given the resources for um, um, to help you with the success on the of the project. So the target audience is again, as we've discussed already, people, somebody who has comprehensive understanding of Tableau, and then have been working for at least 5 months. The learning resources, again, there are lots of learning resources available. We have this training course that we had, that should help you to come up and take up this test, and also a little bit of experience on your own. Once you have completed the training, you need to have around 5 months, as we've been telling, of development experience, through which you would learn a lot more than what you would just learn through a training course. So that would always be helpful. Okay, so the exam format is going to be of the length is going to be of 2 hours, and then you have a 75% as a passing score, and then you have 30 questions which are like 1 point each, knowledge based, and then you have 20 questions which are hands-on, right? So those are gonna be 3 points each. And then of course you're gonna have multiple choice and multiple response, kind of a true false questions. And also you're gonna have a lot of hands-on questions, which will require you to work on the desktop, and the desktop access will be provided during the exam. Okay, so let's just look at what are covered and skills that are measured and evaluated. So it's 10% of that is basically the terms and definitions. So it evaluates your understanding of Tableau and its terms and definitions used, so that you are familiar with that. Something like when I say what is a mark, or what is a shelf, or what is a filter shelf, what is a quick filter, what is a global filter, if there is anything of that kind. So you need to understand these terminologies, right? When I say data source, what is a data source, and what is a data connection, or what is a measure, what are the data roles, what is a discrete date. So these are the kind of terms and definitions that you need to understand. So you're going to be evaluated, and the 10% of the total evaluation is going to be on this, and then you move on to the working with data. So basically, you need to understand how to create filters, how to sort data, how to build groups, sets, and hierarchies. We've seen all these, how to do all these. So, and also basically metadata. So we've been, if you realize now, we've been using the saved data sources from the Tableau sample data source. These are the saved data sources. So how do we make use of that? And then alternate data source types. What are the different data source types that Tableau can connect to? And how do we actually have separate but unconnected data in the same workbook? So we can do that by having two data sources and then bringing them together. And also you have the data extract, the custom SQL, and all the different types of data fields, like the date hierarchies. And we also saw how to can you use different date parts, like the the quarter or the month, the week, etc. And also we saw what are continuous dates and what are discrete dates, and how to define a fiscal year. We saw data hierarchies, and all app considerations. And also you have different Tableau generated fields like the measures and measure names and measure values, and how do we use that? So we've seen this in some of our examples, and also how does Tableau generate the latitude and longitude? It generates it on its own. So how do we use this? So we use it during the maps. So we've done that earlier. Um, and there will also be some advanced features that you would need to work on to before you really go through this examination. And then what happens, the data source is basically connected to the data server, and then how do you create a join, and how do you do blending? We've seen most of this. And then also building, and the next 40% is going to be on understanding how to build visualization, basically how to do the combination charts and the geographic mapping. We've done all these things: scatter plots and scatter graphs, cross tabs, the small multiples, and then highlight tables and bins and histograms, and then page motion charts, the local motion charts. And then you have bars and bars, we have this overlap and nested bars that we could create, and bullet graphs, box plots, uh, and then Paretos and spark lines, etc. And then also you need to understand how to modify locations within Tableau. These are all geographical information, so you're going to be using these as and when. So during the training, we've used data sources where we've had um, very rich geographical data. So you might run into some of the situations where you don't really have good geographical information. Then you might have to modify the locations in Tableau. All right, so you create some custom geocoding. So these are some things that you need to work on and understand before you really get going with this. And also, you need to understand how to use the titles, captions, tooltips, which we've seen, and then how to use the mark labels and annotations. This is a big part of your evaluation. It's like 40% of it. And then also you look at dashboarding. So how do you actually build the dashboard? And then now you build your views. You have the data connections, you have your filters, but then how do you all get it all together? So we've also seen this in one of our sessions. How to build a dashboard, interactive dashboard, and create best practice, and then best visualization, and then how to create actions, and then filter actions and URLs, actions, and etc. And also the next is the big chunk is basically the analytics. This is basically when you really create these calculated fields and manipulate strings and did calculations, work with aggregations, and logical statements. So we've seen all these, and then we also seen the quick table calculations and how important table calculations are in Tableau, right? Then also a minute, about how to use the calculations, and then reference lines and bands, which we've seen, and the trend lines and the models, and then we also seen the statistical summary card. So these are the basic topics that you're going to be evaluated on the certified qualified associate um, exam. So let's just look at a few of the example questions that have been provided here. So the first two are knowledge based, which means you can just select the answer based on your understanding. To connect to multiple tables in a single data source at one time, a dash must be specified. What is it? So if you're uh, connecting within a single multiple databases in a single data source, then you've got to do a join, right? Yes. So the answer is C. Tableau can create worksheet specific filters. Yes, it can. So the answer is A, true. And it's hands-on, and I'll just look at these questions. So um, they have asked us to use the sample superstore subset Excel, which comes along with Tableau. So the question over here is the top 10 customers by some sales represent what percentage of total profits. So there are various ways you can do it. So I'm going to run through a particular solution that we have. So, and then what is a moving average of sales in June 2012, including the 6 months and prior and 6 months after? So let's look at this again. Then you also create an histogram and number of, and there's a, it wants, we need to find out which of these histograms have more than 25% of gross profit ratio, right? So let's look at this in yep. So this is the first example where we have to calculate the, we have to find out the total for the top 10, for the top 10 customers by sum of sales, what is the percentage of profit, right? So let's look at how we've achieved this, so what we've done is, taken the customer name sales and created a top 10 filter over here, right? Okay, by sales, and then we drag the sales, and then um, we, to find out what is the uh, percentage of profit. The there are various ways of doing it. The way we have done here is, created a duplicate. Um, Here, just you can duplicate this data source, and then you create a new data source over here, which is a duplicate data source. The reason why it's done, as I'll show you here, while creating the percentage of profit, what we do is, take the profit from this primary data source, and then you take the sum of profit from the secondary data source. The main issue, so why we doing it is, in the primary data source, we already applied a filter of top 10, so if you use just that sum of profit, or you try to do a percentage of total, it's always going to give you 100%, because the data is being filtered to include only these 10 top 10 customers. Okay, so the whenever you drag the profit onto this view, you're going to only get profit which is belonging to these top 10 customers. So we take that profit and then we divide it by the total profit. All right, and to get the total profit, we get it from the secondary, because there is no filter applied on that. And then we get this, we create this calculated field, and then use that calculated field to find out what's the percentage. And just remember one thing: when you're doing this, make sure you're not having any field linked. All right, so let's look at the answer again here. The answer is 5.13, which is which is B. Okay, so let's look at the second, which is the moving average of sales. So let's go to sheet 2, and what we've done here is, just drag the continuous date over to here. All right, this is the continuous date, and then drag the sales, and then convert that into moving average. Okay, and then you edit the table calculation, and then include the previous 6 and the next 6 values, right? So that's what is there in the question here. So you want to add the, including the 6 months prior and 6 months after. So once you do that, you get your value, which is, let's look at this. So where is June? So June is going to be here. So this is June over here. So right, so we are in June, and the answer is 188 $552. Right, 188 $552. That's the answer over here is C. And then the third hands-on question is on the histogram. This is showing the number of sales. Okay, so we need to create a bin. We need to create bins, uh, and then we can find out this particular answer. So let's go and see here how we've done this. So you create a bin, you just go on the sales and say create bin, and then you create a bin over here, and then give the size of 1,000. Okay, so I'll just show you. So it's a bin and the size of 1,000. So you have that. Just drag it onto the columns, and then drag your gross profit ratio, which we have, and just drag that here. All right. So this is nothing but profit ratio is nothing but sum of profit by sum of sales. So you just drag that here, and then you create this view, and you can just drag that also onto the filter column, and then just filter shelf, and then just filter on 25% and above. Now, so you have, so what does it say? More than 25%. So you probably need to have something greater than 25%, right? So it could be, you can use this. So this is the answer. So you have this. So you can give any filter. If you want to just look at this 26 and above, 25 and above, then you have we have just 7, 8, and 11. So 7 and 11 over here. So it needs to be added, needs to be included. So the answer would be, so if you want, if you look at just 25, all right, so you get this 3. So the answer is uh, 7, 11, and 18. So that way you can create. So you there are various ways of doing it, not just one way. So you can try out on your own and then try to come up with these answers for the sample questions given in this. So we're gonna be attaching all these things to the course material, so you can look at these things. So now let's look at another, which is for the another preparation guide, which is actually for the a certified professional. So again, the target. So again, preparing for exam is nothing but, so you just go. I mean, document tells you what all. I mean, basically what's going to be covered, and you need to have what knowledge and skills are being measured. Okay, so the awarded credentials are basically you will be provided credentials saying Tableau certified um, professional. Yep. And then you have the target audience. Basically here is you need to be good in visual analytics methodologies, and you should be having understanding of advanced visualization and calculations, um, and also data understanding, a good amount of understanding of data. And you need to have at least 9 months of at least 9 months of dedicated experience using Tableau desktop. So the only reason why that's a prerequisite is because that surely will give you a lot of insights and understanding of what Tableau is, and the depth of the tool, and what are all the different analytics that you can do with it, statistical um, graphs that you can build. So all these things you generally get to understand as and when you start working with Tableau and you have some real-time experience. Okay. So another prerequisite over here is basically you need to have completed your Tableau Desktop Qualified Associate exam. So you should have finished that level before you really start taking exam over here. So the preparation is basically this is something that will tell you. This is basically how you need to get ready for the exam. Have your hardware set up, your software, and then just get your system running, and then so we're gonna go through this a little while later. And then the resources, of course, you have a lot of different resources. And the best resource I would say is working on Tableau, and then understanding a lot of the running through issues and making mistakes, learning from those, and then understanding, because that is the best way you can learn. Apart from, of course, going through these training materials and the online manuals that Tableau provides. All right, so basically, you need to know what is the best practices and what the chart selection you need to do, Tableau visual guide. So these are the things that you understand and learn as and when you start using Tableau, and then start creating visualization. So again, the exam format, the length is it's around 3 hours long, and then you're gonna be grading. Basically, it's not a 75% or something. You can be graded by given a grade by a committee based on scoring rubric. And then the formats, it is more of hands-on, and then you have written response. So you create the visualization, and also you answer some questions on the Tableau in the Tableau desktop itself, right? Okay, so access to the Tableau desktop would be given during the examination. So there are some sample in this prep guide actually gives you some exam samples, questions and answers. In the we have another prep solution um, document which shows about the answers, talks about the answers. So now these are the different modules. So basically, each module will be you'll be tasked with exploring and representing data in meaningful, efficient, and visually effective way. So basically, this is more not like a multiple choice question or something. So this is going to be more on how well you understand the data, and how good are you in representing it in a way that is very easily understood by the audience. So the audience generally, the consumers, the business users, or the consumers of your report need not be technical. So you don't really need to have some technical marvels in your report, but then you need to have really something. You might be having a technically marvelous uh, desktop or a desktop development or a dashboard that you develop, but unless and until it really gives us intuitive and really nice visually appealing and as well as informative kind of dashboards, it wouldn't make too much of sense for the business users. So this exam is for more to understand how well you know and how well you can actually represent the data using Tableau. All right, so there's lots of things that you need to understand before you prepare for this exam. So module one is basically tells Tableau on the best practices. So like there's the sample question basically gives us some random representation of the same similar kind of data and asks us to either create a better way of doing it and tell why what is the better way actually, or the alternative way of doing it. So let's go through the solutions a little later. So this is one, and the module two is basically advanced technical. So it's going to ask you to create some technically advanced calculations and views, right? These would involve you to create some calculated fields and then create some table calculations and create some joins and create some blend some data and then use parameters, the way we've done earlier, and then create add dashboards and then create actions to highlight or the filter or to navigate. So these are the different things that you would be asked to do in this module. So there are some basic questions, some sample questions. Look at the bird strike rate and determine which species have the most strike rates in each month. So basically, you have some data that's given to you, and how the flights are killing the birds by striking them. So you can look at what species and what time trends, and then during what season most get hit, and then just different types of analysis that you could do. And then you can find out the strike rate. Basically, it's total number of flights by total number of strikes divided by the total number of flights will give you the strike rate. And then also total sales across. This is another one not related to the strikes, which more like how you represent sales across different sources. So the next module, and the next module is more of like how you come up with a story. How you stitch a story together and then represent the data. So let's look at the solutions. So we have this preparation guide with the solution here for the qualified certified professional. So so we had the question where we had some random visualization provided to us, and then asked us to create some alternative visualization or tell which one is a better one. So the sample question was the goal is to compare measures within the state across different regions. While each view may be correct, one might be better choice over the other. So provide an exact explanation of which view you would use and why. So let's look at the question here once again. So this was the question here. So basically, explanation of why, which one would you use and why would you use the one that you would use. So that's the question here, and you have the sample answer given here, which says that okay, so whatever kind of information you're looking at, you got to be sure that you come up with the best possible visualization for that. And also in this case, crosstab might not be it surely it's useful, but might not be the best way to show this data, because you have some state information and then all this kind of geographical information that you can use to create a rich map instead of just a dull or a normal crosstab. So that's why there's a lot of explanation given over here. Be what would be the best way of doing it. Well, so you can just come up with what this seems to be the better way of visualizing that information that's given in the question. So since we have state information, you can use the map, plot it on the map, and then you can use these bubbles to show the size of the sales and then increase and color it based on the profit. So the darkest is going to tell you the highest profit, and then the biggest is going to tell you where the biggest sales has been happening. So that's where, and the regions are by color of the state itself, right? Okay, and the second one was basically how to create the rank. So you can create ranks by creating this index function, using this index function. This explains how it's done, and we can go through this. And also we have the sample question again. You have this strike rate, how to calculate the strike rate, and how would you represent it best. Now, so you need to create a calculated field here again, no doubts about that, and then you represent it over the time using a trend line, and you can also draw. I mean, you can use this line chart, and of course you can draw a trend line also to show how it's been trending. Okay, and then you have this advanced technical skills again. You have the other question, which is like, how do we create the sales? So you can for across the question was um, across the sources, different, and so you can use this. So whatever we did um, earlier as to finding out the total sales and you know across different sections, so there you go. So this is basically, it explains how you can create these kind of calculations. So you can go through this, and then also you have a storytelling, which is just the wildlife strikes by the airplanes. So here you can see this is all sample and answers. So it could be it's all based on your experience and of storytelling on the Tableau dashboards. You could come up with a better way of doing it than this one. So this is just some sample that it's telling you. So you can this say you can actually build a graph, and then you can have this highlight. Um, which will the dark when the darkest square or the rectangle over here tells you that there's been the most number of strikes, which is actually July of 2009 is where probably the most number of strikes are happening. And then you have these trends based on the number of strikes and number of lights over the months and over the years, so you can see when and why, and all those kind of things. So basically this is the sample that it provides, so you can actually create your own views. So they also have provided uh, with the sample workbook, which has these questions. So this is basically the question workbook, they provide you, and you would actually have to go and create a alternative view basically, and tell why this is good. So you can create, so this is the one that's got created, and then you can say this is better because since we have a lot of geographical data, and then we have sales and profit to represent, uh, we can use the map to actually represent it, rather than using one of these, uh, text tables or this kind of information, right? And then how often, this is the storytelling part of it. So this is the view that they've created, and then the sample, and just tells you how you can make use of these maps to filter the other reports. We've seen this in the dashboard building session. We actually built a very similar type of storytelling kind of dashboard, which helps us, um, which is an interactive one, and then it gives the trend and also gives us other information, and the user uses the map as a filter. And also it also has this information of how to create these the index, and the top n species, and then the strike rate, how to calculate. It's nothing but a calculated field that's been created and used over here, and then trend line has been drawn, and then also the information about how to create these measures, to create to calculate this, right? And then this is nothing but the same PDF that we were just going through. So that's also embedded within the solution workbook. So all this would be available as a part of the training sessions. Now, actually, let's go ahead and look at how you would prepare yourself for the exam just before the exam. How would you get ready for that? So basically, for Tableau says, okay, you have four steps to the exam success. So first one is of course study. So how do you study? You can actually go through these training sessions, and then the manuals, and then uh, do it yourself, and learn a lot of things by understanding. You can log onto the community, see what's happening, what people are trying to do, and then increase your knowledge by going to the knowledge base of Tableau, go through those white papers and etc. All right. So that's one way, and then second is tech. Once you have done all the studies and you're ready now with your knowledge, well armed with knowledge, now you can go and get set for the exams. All right, so just before you go and now register, pay the fees, register yourself, and then when the time comes for you to really take the exam, you got to make sure that your computer is ready um, for the for the for the test, right? So basically, you need to tech check your computer, which means you need to make sure all your computer is up and running, and it's all good, before you really go to take the examination. So first you have to run the SkyTap. The SkyTap is SaaS, which is the you need to. This is the cloud where you would be taking your exam. Basically you would be provided access to a desktop over there, remote desktop, and then you would be creating the Tableau desktop visualizations over there. So you need to make sure that you have the right connectivity, and then if you don't, then make sure that you have the right version of Java and stuff, and then make sure you are up and running much before the exam really starts. And then you make sure that you have a very high speed connectivity. I mean decent at least, if not high speed. So even if Wi-Fi might work, but then LAN is always recommended. Because a connection void may actually a connection loss might actually void your examination, and that's not cool, right? So and then make sure that you have a webcam, because it's going to be online and a video kind of exam where you're going to be live sitting, and you would have somebody monitoring you, right? So you need to have a laptop. Oh, I mean, laptop camera would do, but then you need to have working microphones and speakers, and then a webcam. Otherwise, all right, then you prepare your environment, and also you need to choose a quiet and private environment. You don't want to have too much of disturbance around you when you're really sitting in and seriously giving this examination. So you must understand that each of this is like a 2 hours and 3 hours exam. The qualified is a 2 hours, and then the certified is like a 3 hours examination, and then you need to be concentrating on that and focused during the examination. So make sure you select a very quiet and a private environment for your exam. Um, and though you need to have your webcam set up, and then you would surely there is a proctor who would be there, who's going to be making sure that things are all fine and you're in the right place, and you don't have access to unapproved resources. That means you basically are not taking help of something else other than your knowledge itself, right? So clearing this space, you should not have any papers or other computers other than the one that you're taking exam in the room, and then you don't have any whiteboards with instructions written on that or something like that. And then you also please make sure that you have your photo identification ready, because you need to show that to the proctor, and make sure that you have your name and and your um, ID, the name on the ID and your registration should match, right? Okay, and the next is actually you need to have you will have access to Tableau. Then you will have virtual machine given to you. Exams are recorded. Any problems later on, you can actually talk to Tableau, and then they would actually review the exams, that the recordings of the exams, and then provide you the solution if there is any problem, right? And then also, as I said earlier, you will have an online proctor, right, who's going to log in and make sure that you are not using an appropriate means to write the examination. uh, and also the proctor is going to have access to connect to your computer, make sure your computer is clean, and then it's ready for exam. And then the proctor would be checking your ID, inspect the room through the webcam, and make sure that there is nothing else helping you with the examination. And then the proctor would be starting the exam for you, and then there would be also a lot of monitoring happening throughout the exam to make sure that the exam integrity has been maintained, right? And then once it is done, I mean, yeah, the proctor would also assist you with some questions, either technical or logistical, of nature, logistical nature. right? And then you'll also have access to the examination score. So if it's a qualified associate, you would immediately get that. But if it's qualified associate or certified professional, server qualified or desktop certified, you would they would need Tableau would need around 7 to 10 days to provide you the complete score, because you would, as we had discussed earlier, the evaluation is going to be based on the grades that they provide you. So it's going to be worked on, and then based on what kind of visualization you built, you're going to be judged, evaluated rather. I'm sorry. So going to be evaluated on that, and then you're going to be given a grade. All right. So once that is done, you can actually log into the website portal, exam portal, and then get the certification printed, downloaded, and printed. So this is basically the entire process of you getting certified, right? So this is, again, remember, this is an online. These are both are online exams. So one is at a low at a level where you do not really need to know. I mean, it's good to know, but then you would not necessarily be knowing a lot of advanced features. So that is the top qualified associate level. Once you get into a lot of development yourself, and then you have a lot of understanding of building views and building writing stories in the Tableau desktop, and then creating all this a wonderful visualization with analytical capabilities. So that's when you are ready for taking up the certified professional exam. So you can register for both online, pay the fees, and then get set with this steps, 4 steps, which is like basically study, make sure your computer is ready, and then you get prepare your environment, and then understand the things that you need to know before you start. Now, once you have all this, and then give the exams, so you would certainly be um, qualified in terms of assessing, having yourself evaluated and assessed by Tableau. You would be actually well equipped in terms of better opportunities. So you surely would stand out, because if you're because of the fact that you were now certified by Tableau. Um, that so that surely adds up to your profile. So we would suggest everybody to actually take these exams up, certify yourself, and then um, stand out.